Figuring out whether to continue losing body fat and losing weight overall or build lean muscle is one of the hardest things to do throughout your journey. So in this video, I'm gonna help you figure out what path to take or how to do both if you're in that position. Once you understand what you're trying to accomplish and where you're going, the ability to execute on what's required to get your body in great shape is going to be tremendous. So let's dive in. So typically I get this question from guys in the what I like to call skinny fat phase, where they've got a little bit of muscle mass here and there on their body. They've got a lot of body fat in certain areas that they want to get rid of. And it's like they're not necessarily morbidly obese, where you typically need to lose, hundreds of pounds of body fat. Because I think the answer is a lot more obvious when you're at that place, but it's a little less obvious when you're only, let's say, 20-30 pounds overweight. Your BMI isn't insane, you're not on blood pressure medication or anything like that, and you can't really figure out what path to take, because you want to tone your body up, you want to drop the stubborn fat, but you don't necessarily know how to get that done. My guy Phil was actually in this same exact position when we started out, was trying to figure out, hey, should we drop body fat? Should we build lean muscle? And the path that we took with him actually allowed him to strip off 10 pounds of body fat while simultaneously adding 6 pounds of lean muscle over about 4 months. And you see the difference in his physique with only a 4-pound difference. And this is why I talk so much about not obsessing over the scale and not obsessing solely over what your weight is, but focusing more on body composition. Before we get in too far, make sure to follow me on Instagram, Montel Hardin. Over there, post daily tips, insights. On my stories, we're always breaking down how myself and our top clients are getting in amazing shape. This is going to give you that day-to-day insight that you need, and be able to chat and ask me any questions one-on-one that you might not necessarily be able to do on YouTube. So follow me on Instagram over at Montel Hardin. Now, here's how to figure out what you need to do specifically. You want to look at 2 key pillars. First off, you want to look at your overall body fat percentage, not your weight, not your BMI, your overall body fat percentage. So if you are over 20% body fat, my recommendation is to focus solely on fat loss first. If you're carrying a lot of body fat, then that means your body is in a prime position to be able to strip that off, because it's only going to get harder the leaner you get. So right now is actually the perfect time to go ahead and get that body fat off. Go ahead and alter your body's metabolism, alter your body's hormonal state, so that it can actually prime itself for building muscle after we get you to, 10-15% body fat. So that would be my number one priority and what I focused on more than anything. And I would say if you are between 10 to 13% body fat, I think you should probably focus on building lean muscle. Obviously, it depends on where the fat deposits in your body are and what stubborn areas you're still hanging on to within that 10 to 13%. But typically, if you're between 10 to 13% body fat, you're probably pretty lean. And I think the best course of action would be to just go ahead and start clean bulking, trying to build up lean muscle, because you want to be at a pretty low place. You're already going to put on maybe 2, 3, 4% more body fat. The last thing you want to do is be trying to put muscle on and you're already 20, 22, 25, 30% body fat, because you're probably going to end that cycle at 35. You're going to end the cycle almost hypertensive, like you were working out, you were dieting, all these different things, but now your health has deteriorated because you tacked on so much more body fat on top of existing body fat that you already had. So you want to make sure that you get your body really lean first, and then go into trying to tack muscle on and doing it in a clean and efficient way. No dirty bulks, no I eat whatever I want, no trying to gain 30-40 pounds. Like, we want to gain a pound of muscle a month, a half a pound of muscle every couple of weeks, somewhere within that range. You want to be able to look up, and at the end of a year where you focused on building up lean muscle, you ended up gaining, let's say, maybe 10 pounds of lean muscle. If you can gain 10 pounds of lean muscle in a year, you're going to be in really, really good shape, and also making sure that you stayed relatively lean within that 10 to 13% body fat. So when it comes to body fat, that's what I focus on. And if you're between like 13 and 15%, you could go either way. I would look at this more psychological, because I've had clients that really struggled with holding on to excess body fat. Like their preference was just to be extremely lean. Now that might just be because they haven't been there before, and I definitely understand that. I've been extremely lean before, and I'll say I actually like having a couple extra pounds of body fat on me. More so, not necessarily for the look, but more so just how I feel and my strength and just overall enjoyment. Because when you're really lean, that means you're eating a very low amount of food. You're eating pretty rigidly. You're training almost incessantly nonstop, which for a lot of our guys that are in management, executive roles, they've got spouses, they've got kids. You might not necessarily have the time to do that. But if you struggle with holding on to body fat, especially if you have stubborn areas like maybe your lower belly or your chest or something like that, and it's like, even though you are 13 to 15% body fat, that stubborn area still hasn't gone away yet, I say go ahead and lean out and lean out and lean out and lean out until that stubborn area is gone. Because psychologically, you're gonna self-sabotage yourself when you start trying to put muscle back on, because that area probably isn't gonna go away. It might look a little bit better as we add muscle to it, but the body fat there probably isn't gonna go away when you focus on building muscle. So that's why I really lean and sculpt everything out and then go from there. Then the second thing is your training experience. So when it comes to strength training, newbie gains are a real thing. I put on around 17 pounds of lean muscle my first year strength training consistently 5 days a week and hitting nutrition targets, hitting protein, all that good stuff. And then the next year I put on 2 pounds. And the next year I was stagnant. And since then I've maybe add 1 or 2 pounds of lean muscle a year. So you see the difference. You go from 17 pounds to 2 pounds to 1 pound to 1 pound to 1 pound, basically over the last half decade. That's how much lean muscle you're gonna put on initially if you are not accustomed to strength training, if it's not something that you've done consistently. So I would say that if you're in that maybe 10 to 15% range, but you've never strength trained before, you have a big opportunity to completely transform the way that your body operates. Because if you can put on 15 pounds of lean muscle in a year, your metabolism is going to skyrocket, and that muscle alone will probably strip off the body fat to the point where you get down to around 10% or so. So I think that you have a very unique situation there. Now, if you are trained, you've strength trained consistently for 2 years, 5 years, 10 years, like you have experience there, you have a stored amount of lean muscle mass already, then I think shifting and focusing more on cardiovascular improvement, focusing more on caloric burn throughout your workouts, focusing more on caloric deficit in your nutrition would be pretty advantageous to you. And probably what happened is something that I had to check for myself. When I was trying to add lean muscle, I was eating 2,800, 2,900 calories a day. And you get used to that over time. And then once you get to your kind of end goal or where you want to be size wise, and it's time to just maintain it and keep everything lean and sculpted, it can be kind of difficult to come back down off of that 2,900 calories that you were accustomed to. But the fact is, you're not actively trying to build more muscle tissue. You're just trying to maintain what you have and then just maintain your physical fitness while leaning out. So you probably are going to need significantly less food. And I'd be willing to bet that if you're watching this and you've strength trained for a while and you did the dieting aspect of what's required to put on lean muscle, chances are you've probably got yourself accustomed to eating a little bit too much food for where you currently are today. And you benefit tremendously by not necessarily changing what you eat, but just cutting down those portions, probably cutting every single one of them in half, getting you closer to around 1,800, 1,900, 2,000 calories a day would be very advantageous for you if you've strength trained consistently and you've put on a good amount of muscle and size at any point in your life, because now you don't have the newbie gains in your corner and to your advantage. So let's break down the best approach for each scenario. If you fell in the category where and I want you guys to let me know down in the comments, listening to those 2 areas and what you should focus on. Let me know down in the comments, say, hey, I'm here, so I think that fat loss should be my focus, or I'm here, so I think that muscle gain should be my focus. Let me know down in the comments what you feel, just based on what we talked about, is going to be the best path forward for you. If fat loss is your goal, obviously we need a caloric deficit. We need some sort of caloric restriction, whether you're counting your calories, whether you're intermittent fasting, whether you're using portion sizes, whatever methodology you choose. We've got to find a way to eat a little bit less food calorically, but eat more food nutritionally, more protein, more high fiber foods that are gonna help us lean out faster. You also wanna strength train probably 2 to 4 days a week. Make sure you hit each muscle group at least twice so that you maintain the amount of lean muscle mass that you have. Add more cardio to the mix to increase that deficit. Get in 10 to 15,000 steps a day, and just focus on progressive overload and getting stronger even while dropping body fat. Obviously, you won't get stronger at the same rate that you would if you were actively trying to build lean muscle, but you can still gain strength as you lose body fat. And now if muscle gain is your goal, you need a very small surplus. It's easy to go very overboard when it comes to putting on lean muscle, but you only need 200 or 300 extra calories. That's basically like adding a little bit more avocado to your chicken and rice bowl, or adding another chicken drumstick and another cup of rice to your dinner. Like, it's very minuscule the amount of extra food that you need, but you do want to make sure that you have at least the amount that your body needs to maintain its muscle mass, plus a couple hundred extra calories to fuel training performance, which is going to be extremely important, but also to fuel that increase in muscle mass that we're looking for. You also, once again, want to prioritize that strength. You want to be getting stronger week after week after week. If you're not, you probably aren't eating quite enough, or you're not sleeping well enough to adequately recover from what you're doing. So both of those are going to be key, essential systems when it comes to putting that lean muscle on your body that you need so that you can tone up, gain strength, and just get to where you want to be from a physical perspective. The key, no matter what your direction is enjoying the process, not rushing it, and most of all, understanding that there's a season in your health and fitness for everything. Right now, you might be focused on fat loss, and then 2-3 years from now, you'll finally get to the place where you're the lean person. You're the one that's seeing your abs. You're the one that feels amazing. Your cardio is great, all that good stuff. And now you decide that it's time to tack on some lean muscle mass, and you'll spend another 5 years doing that. And then after you've sculpted this great physique for yourself, now you shift to longevity and health, and maybe you want to prioritize your mobility, or maybe you want to join a sports league and start getting back athletic again. Like, there are going to be a lot of different phases throughout the journey, and the key is to embrace it and understand where you are at that time, because a lot of times, a lot of guys fall off track because they see somebody, they go to the beach and they see somebody that's absolutely diced, shredded, and now it's like, oh, I don't want to bulk anymore, I don't want to put muscle on anymore, I don't lose. And it's like you're just constantly going back and forth and back and forth and back and forth between what you want to do. Stick with a path, see that path through, get to your end goal in that particular path, and then change up and move to the next goal. That's how you keep this a lifestyle for yourself, is by having a game plan and executing that game plan to its completion. And then by the time you get there, you will have another goal. You will have something else that you want to accomplish. So just stay the course. That's the most important thing. So above 20% body fat, get down to around 10%. 10 to 13% is what I would say. And if you are between 13 to 15% body fat, I think you could go either way. And then if you are between, or if you're below 13% body fat, I think it would probably be advantageous for you to add a few pounds of lean muscle. And you don't need much. Maybe 5 pounds of lean muscle in the right places will help you look completely different, feel completely different. Your overall fitness will improve dramatically. So that's how I would approach the should I lose weight or should I build muscle scenario. So that's it. Hopefully you got value from this. If you did, and you've been watching for a while and we've been connecting, and you're like, hey, you know what? I need help figuring out the game plan to get the stubborn fat off, or to get the lean muscle tacked on that I need to in the midst of my crazy schedule, or with the demands that I have, or with my preferences, or with the equipment that I have, whatever the case may be. Click the first link down in the description below. Take our transformation quiz, and we'll help you figure out exactly what you need to do in order to get to where you need to be. And make sure to like, subscribe, and turn notifications on so that you don't miss any more uploads going forward. And I'll see you in the next one. Peace.